On 26 June 2015, an Islamist mass shooting attack occurred at the tourist resort at Port El Kantaoui, about 10 kilometers north of the city of Sousse, Tunisia. 38 people, 30 of whom were British, were killed when an armed gunman attacked a hotel. It was the deadliest non-state attack in the history of modern Tunisia, with more fatalities than the 22 killed in the Bardo National Museum attack 3 months before. Background: in October 2013, a suicide bomber blew himself up in a botched attack on a Sousse beach while security forces foiled another planned attack nearby. The post-Tunisian revolution led to the 2014 parliamentary election, in which the principal secularist party gained a plurality but was unable to govern alone, and ultimately formed a national unity government. Secularist Behi Kaida Sebsi was elected president in the Tunisian presidential election 2014. Since the overthrow of Tunisian President Ben Ali, terrorism increased, leading to 60 victims among security and military troops. Other attacks targeted civilians and tourists. Despite this, Tunisia was considered to be a secure country. On 18 March 2015, the Bardo National Museum in Tunis was attacked by 3 terrorists, leading to the deaths of 22 people, including 20 foreigners visiting the museum. 2 of the gunmen, Tunisian citizens Yassine El-Abadi and Saber Karknouer, were killed by police, while the third attacker is currently at large. Police treated the event as a terrorist attack. The Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant claimed responsibility for the attack, and threatened to commit further attacks. A police raid killed 9 members on 28 March. After the Bardo attack, the government announced new security measures and declared the country safe again. On 26 June 2015, the Spanish-owned 5-star Riu Imperial Mahaba Hotel at Port El Kantaoui, a tourist complex situated on the coast about 10 kilometers north of Sousse, Tunisia, was hosting 565 guests, mainly from Western Europe, 77% of its capacity. Tourists from the hotel as well as from the Soviva hotel located nearby went to the beach to swim and sunbathe. At around noon, Saifuddin Rezgui Yakuba, disguised as a tourist, socialized with others, and then took out her Kalashnikov assault rifle concealed in a beach umbrella and fired at the tourists on the beach. He entered the hotel, shooting at people he came across. He was killed by security forces during an exchange of fire. All bullets were found to have been fired from the one weapon. The attacker had 4 magazines of ammunition. The attacker had spoken to his father on a mobile telephone, which he then threw into the sea just before the attack. It was retrieved. An Interior Ministry spokesman said that they were sure that others helped but did not participate directly, providing the Kalashnikov and helping Rezgui to the scene. Victims: 38 people were killed, 30 of whom were British. Among the fatalities was Dennis Thwaites, a former professional footballer for Birmingham City, and his wife, Elaine. 39 others were wounded. Perpetrator and associates: the killer, Saifuddin Rezgui Yakuba, also known as Abu Yahya al-Qayrawani, was a 23-year-old electrical engineering student at University of Kairouan from Darfur, in northwest Tunisia. He did not have the typical traits of an Islamic extremist. He had a girlfriend, drank alcohol and was a local break-dancing star. He was also believed to be high on cocaine during his rampage. He is believed to have been radicalized over such issues as the Libyan civil war and Western inaction against the savagery of the Assad government. During the Syrian civil war, Rezgui is thought to have been recruited by Ajnad al-Khilafah, an outgrowth of the Tunisian branch of Ansar al-Sharia, which was founded by Saifullah Ben Hasina, who had lived in the UK in the 1990s and whose mentor during that time was Abu Qatada. High Court papers relating to a control order placed on a British-based suspect state that Ben Hasina aimed to recruit new members and send them to Afghanistan for training. The control order documents add that Abu Qatada appears as a watermark running through the whole of this case as being the mastermind. Ben Hasina is reported to have been killed by the USAF near Ajabia in eastern Libya on 14 June 2015. The strike was designed to kill Mokhtar Belmokhtar in an Ansar meeting. After the overthrow of Tunisia's President Zine El Abidine Ben Ali in 2011, Ben Hasina was released from jail in March 2011 under an amnesty, and later founded Ansar al-Sharia in Tunisia, which resisted proscription until 2013, arguing it was carrying out humanitarian work. Even though Ben Hasina personally had led the storming of the U.S. Embassy in Tunis on 14 September 2012, 3 days after Ansar's Libyan counterparts killed U.S. Ambassador J. Christopher Stevens in Benghazi, Libya. When Ansar was finally outlawed in August 2013, after the murders of 2 secular leftist MPs, he was listed as a proscribed terrorist by the United States, and he fled to Libya. Qatada wrote in a letter published online in January 2014 that Ben Hasina is among the best of those I have known in intellect, and the most knowledgeable of people of my intentions, for he was the closest of people to me. Aftermath. Immediately after the attack, the flight JAF 5017, on its way to Enfia Hammamet International Airport, was redirected to Brussels. German tour operator TUI offered German tourists the opportunity to fly back to Germany and to cancel or adjust their bookings in Tunisia. British tour operator Thomson announced that flights to Tunisia will be cancelled until at least 9 July 2015, with 10 flights departing on the evening of the attacks to bring 2,500 customers in the resort back to the United Kingdom. Hisgett and Thomas Cook announced that customers planning to visit Tunisia would be able to change their travel plans free of charge. First Choice also announced the same. Hotels were targeted in attacks to undermine tourism and because they were considered brothels by ISIS. Both tourism and the related industries accounted for up to 14.9% of the Tunisian economy in 2014. The United Kingdom's Home Secretary Theresa May and Foreign Office Minister Tobias Ellwood visited the site of the shooting on 29 June 2015. It was also announced that a Royal Air Force aircraft would be sent in order to repatriate bodies and evacuate the injured back to the United Kingdom. On 29 June, RAF Boeing C-17 Globemaster III flew from RAF Brize Norton to Tunisia to recover 4 British victims, with the C-17 returning via Birmingham Airport to unload 1 patient, and returning to Brize Norton with the other 3. On 29 June, the House of Commons chamber observed a minute of silence shortly before the Prime Minister David Cameron announced that a national minute of silence would be held on 3 July 2015 at 1200 local time to remember the victims, exactly 1 week on from the attacks. Cameron later led several Cobra meetings. The Foreign Office sent a team to the hotel to support British survivors and know more about the British victims. The Metropolitan Police Deputy Assistant Commissioner announced an heightened police presence in security for Armed Forces Day and Pride London, events taking place in London over the weekend. On 28 June 2015, Her Majesty the Queen said she and the Duke of Edinburgh were shocked by the attack and also offered their deepest sympathy to the injured. Scotland Yard's SO-15 Counter-Terrorism Command launched their largest anti-terrorism investigation since the 7th of July 2005 London bombings, involving 600 police officers and support staff. 16 British counter-terrorism police were deployed to Tunisia in the direct aftermath of the attacks, and almost 400 officers were sent to British airports to identify potential witnesses to the attack who had returned home. On the 1st of July, the bodies of 8 British nationals who were killed in the attacks were flown from Tunisia to RAF Brize Norton. On the 2nd of July, the bodies of a further 9 British nationals who were killed in the attacks were flown to RAF Brize Norton, and the Prime Minister David Cameron and Defence Secretary Michael Fallon began making calls for airstrikes in Syria, believing the Sousse attacks to have been coordinated from there. On the 3rd of July, the United Kingdom held a nationwide minute's silence at 1200 local time to remember the victims of the attacks as government buildings and Buckingham Palace flew the Union Jack at half-mast. A further 8 bodies of British victims were repatriated back to RAF Brize Norton. On the 4th of July, the final 5 bodies of the British victims were repatriated back to the United Kingdom. Reactions. Tunisian President Behi Qaida Sebsi called for a global strategy against terrorism and visited Sousse with Prime Minister Habib Essid, who promised to close 80 mosques within the week. The government also plans to crack down on financing for certain associations as a countermeasure against another attack. Essid announced new anti-terrorism measures, including the deployment of reserve troops to reinforce security at sensitive sites and places that could be targets of terrorist attacks. The exceptional plan to better secure tourist and archaeological sites will include deploying armed tourist security officers all along the coast and inside hotels from the 1st of July, and that Behi Qaida Sebsi also denounced the cowardly attacks, promising painful but necessary measures to fight extremism in the country. He called for a firm response. No country is safe from terrorism, and we need a global strategy of all democratic countries. On the 4th of July, Sebsi removed from his post the provincial governor of Sousse and at least 5 senior police officers. Among the policemen dismissed were 3 from Sousse, 1 from Darfur and 1 from Kairouan, where Razgwa was studying. On the 22nd of July, Tunisian MPs began a 3-day debate on new counter-terrorism legislation. The legislation would allow the courts to impose death sentences to those convicted of terrorism-related offences. The legislation would also make public support of terrorism a jailable offence. If passed, the bill would allow law enforcement and security services to tap phone calls of individuals suspected of terrorism. On the 8th of July, the British Foreign and Commonwealth Office changed the advised status of Tunisia to advise against all but essential travel, resulting from the 9th of July in the planned return home of the estimated 3,000 British nationals in Tunisia at that time. ABTA and travel organisations First Choice TUI and Thomson have stated that they plan to send no further British tourists to Tunisia until post the 31st of October 2015. Other Islamist attacks. 4 other Islamist attacks took place on the same day in France, Kuwait, Syria and Somalia. The attacks followed an audio message released 3 days earlier by ISIL senior leader Abu Muhammad al-Adnani encouraging militants everywhere to attack during the month of Ramadan. No definitive link between the attacks has yet been established. One attack, at a French factory, resulted in the beheading of 1 person. Another bombing at a Shia mosque in Kuwait City killed at least 27, and the other attack on an African Union base in Somalia undertaken by al-Shabaab killed at least 70. Another attack on the day took place in Hasakeh in Syria. A suicide bomber blew himself up and killed 20 people.